Readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage. It is officially historical fiction time.
Yes, it is, Ed. And yes, of course, we are the Brothers Gwyn. And today we're going to be talking about 10 historical fiction books we aim to read by the end of the year 2023. And we're going to be doing 5 each. Hopefully, a bit ambitious on my part. I'm not sure if I'll finish them all, but I hope to. And on your part, you better finish them or I will hold you to account.
Well, you better finish them, Will, because...
Kick us off, Ed.
I would never... Again, I would never kick
we'll
this
go together.
book. The first one that we're reading is Wolves of Winter. Isn't that George R. R. Martin's book? Winds of Winter. You meant to correct me. But oh well. It didn't pan out. Wolves of Winter is Dan Jones' second historical fiction book of the 100 Years' War. Now we follow a group of soldiers in the English army as they pillage and, rampantly destroy France, medieval France, in the mid-14th century. And through Essex Dogs, we have grown to love and get behind these characters. And now we're going to see what happens next. The nobility is written so well in this series.
It's true.
The language used is fantastic. And I love the way that Dan Jones makes it feel like it could be a modern soldier's tale, but they've just got swords instead of guns. And I love that. It feels timeless.
And if you want to check out our Dan Jones interview, hopefully it is on the channel. We did do it via Instagram on the Broken Binding page and with Dan himself. That's probably a key component when you're interviewing an author, isn't it? That they are there.
When we interviewed
hopefully,
Dan...
we worked out the technicality and hopefully we got it up on the YouTube as well.
On the YouTube.
And so, he's a journalist, presenter, non-fiction writer, and he was turning his pen to historical fiction. We loved Essex Dogs. You can check out our review we did last year. And next up, Wolves of Winter. And so probably by the time this is out, because we've got it scheduled for around mid-November, we have probably already read this.
And for those watching, for those listening, we have Dan Jones, we have Dan Snow. Let us know in the comments below who you think would win in an arm wrestle. Don't know. Anyway,
Only you would ask that, Ed.
Just want to know. Just want to hear the people. The next one for me is Matthew Harvey's A Time for Swords, a very reliable historical fiction writer who is actually turning his hand to the Western genre,
which
very
is like
soon.
your perfect.
But A Time for Swords, is Matthew Harvey's account of, I believe, the Lindisfarne raid during the Viking
Obviously,
Age,
the first raid on English shores by Vikings, wasn't it?
The first Viking, aka Danish raid in England was in 789. That was before
4 years
Lindisfarne.
before, I believe. Is it 793?
793, it is 793 Lindisfarne. So, but this book is about the most famous first Viking Age raid on the island of Lindisfarne, off of the coast of Northumberland, I believe. So Matthew Harvey is a great writer. William, you've actually read this book, and I believe that you enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it very much so. There's a bit of a Magnificent Seven vibe in getting a group together, and I love how they kind of come into the fold, and it's great.
Do you follow Anglo-Saxons, or do you follow Vikings?
Anglo-Saxons mainly, but it's a bit more complex than that.
Yes, we love it.
And they may not be the only two groups.
Oh. Okay, I like it. But Matthew Harvey, as I said earlier, is a very reliable writer. His Bernicia Chronicles is mega
Wolf
strong.
of Wessex
Wolf of Wessex is a fantastic Viking standalone that you should read. That is essentially True Grit if John Wayne had a sword.
And a dog.
I'm looking forward to reading this.
Oh, I'm destroying my bookshelves. Give me 1 second. Next up, I have a book by Con Edwardden. Historical fiction, funnily enough, in a video where we're talking about historical fiction. This is Lion. So it's kind of attached to his previous duology, which is The Gates of Athens and then Protector, but it's not. It's nice to read the first two, and then you see that as a kind of a prequel to this. But you can read this on its own. You could dive straight in because it's different characters. I believe some of the old characters make some nice appearances, but you don't have to have read it to read Lion. And this is historical fiction, and it is... Well, it says in the front, a hero will rise, an empire will be born. And so this is about Pericles, who is very key to the formation of kind of the Greek state as we often know when we kind of think about history and ancient Greece as a whole. And so Pericles is very, what can I say without spoilers, even though it is history, but you'd rather go in not knowing, wouldn't you? very integral to how history panned out, and I believe a lot is mythologized about him. So it'd be interesting to see where kind of Conaghan draws the line and how much he attributes to Pericles and his characterization of the guy himself, as well as all the ones around him. And Conaghan, fantastic writer, and in my opinion, he deals with ancient Greece expertly.
Very nice. Excuse me. And the next one for me is a new release, which possibly will
always
be
love
out
talking about them
by the time this video is out. But it's called The Temple of Fortuna, which is by L.D. Harper, and it is a series set in Italy, in Roman Italy, and William. Sorry, actually, I won't spoil it. But yeah, Temple of Fortuna is book 3, the last book of the Wolf Den trilogy. The Wolf Den trilogy, the first 2 books are absolutely phenomenal. They follow a woman who has been sold into slavery in Pompeii, isn't it? And she is forced to work as a sex slave. And seeing how her arc progresses, how her life just continues after that, horrific act that she's been sold and she is now a slave, is handled expertly by L.D. Harper. She's a fantastic writer. She writes characters so well, and she has a way that you just feel utterly hopeless, but you have this enormous emotional connection to the main character and the characters around her as well, and you are just desperate to see her live a happy life. You're just desperate to see them smile just once. It is a horrific read at times. It is brutal, but there is a vein of hope that slithers throughout, and you cannot help but just be sucked along with it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And I'll be reading The Temple of Fortuna. That's one of mine as well. And
Fortuna
also
Major.
The House of the Golden Door, which is book 2 of this series. So I read The Wolf Den, adored it, introduced it to Ed. He loved it, then overtook me by reading book 2.
Yeah.
You'll be rereading book 2 and then book 3.
So
and I'll be reading book 2 for the first time, then reading book 3. Yeah, cool. But I'll always be the original. So yeah, The House of the Golden Door, another book that I've introduced you to.
Well, good luck reading
And so yeah, this is The House of the Golden Door by L.D. Harper, and The Temple of Fortuna, guess what, by L.D. Harper. And I have a feeling it could be amongst my favourite trilogies of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
House of the Golden Door, the ending was so good. But yeah, book 2 of the Wolf Den trilogy was my second favourite book of the read last year, after Boudica. Now, if you guys are a regular viewer on the channel, you know how much Boudica means to me, as a person, as a series.
Next up for you?
Where's next up for me?
You have 2 left, I believe.
I'm going to consult my phone.
So I'll do my last, and then you do 2 in a row.
You go for it.
Next up, I have Warlord by Bernard Cornwell, with the 13th and final
the next one I have is...
there
you go.
The 13th and final installment in the Saxon Stories, otherwise known as Uhtred's Last Kingdom series, by Bernard Cornwell. And I've heard that whilst the film, many people didn't click with the film, that many people adore the
Many people didn't click on the film.
And you thought that it was a great ending to this series.
Very strong ending.
Thanks for embellishing on that, Ed.
You know me, blunt, bold, straight to the point.
Yeah, definitely, Ed.
And the next book that I'll be reading is historical fiction, and it is I'm going to be talking about it in our historical fiction video. That was all a joke, leading into linking to the straight to the point bit. But anyway, you've lost your shit with me, basically.
Just get on with the burn. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
Ed,
so the next one for me.
Hey, carry on your joke. It was really kicking off there.
Anyway, I wouldn't kick it off, William.
I need to stop saying that.
Okay.
See, it's only when you comment I realise how much I say that.
I'm not commenting. I'm in the video. I'm not commenting yet. But anyway, the next one for me is Warlord by Oakley Hall. Now, this is a book written in the 1950s.
It's the same name.
Warlord by Oakley Hall.
Warlord. By Bernard Cornwell.
Oh, it's called Warlock. Sorry.
Okay. Well, good job I made a joke then.
Good job you did.
Everyone there is searching for Warlord.
Warlord by Oakley Hall. No, so
everyone's searching for Warlord by Oakley. What's his surname?
Hall.
And they can't find it.
Warlock by Oakley Hall is a book written in the 1950s. It is a literary western that is all about one particular town in the American West. And it is about the comings and the goings of different strangers following various characters through a diary.
A real town? Or made up?
I believe it was a real town, but I believe the diary and the characters were made up. There might be some historical figures that appear throughout, but I've heard that Warlock is an absolutely fantastic and almost mind-blowing book. It is a large historical fiction book set within this town, so you meet the same characters over and over again, and you are transported to a time and place in history like no other, and that is something that I always love to read about. And especially when it's in the hands of a writer who takes characters seriously and is masterful in their art. So, and that's what I've heard Oakley Hall is.
Mind blowing. Wow, it should have a health and safety warning if it blows minds. And what's your last one, Ed?
The last one for me is not a historical fiction, but it kind of is. But it's the Vinland Saga.
Ed, what is this video called?
I know, but it's a manga. And it is the Vinland Saga, and I've read volume 1. I'll be continuing the volumes. If Dr. Philip Chase loved it and said it felt like reading the sagas, then it is
and he made the best thumbnails ever with those videos he chatted to Matthew Napier about.
Yes, I've watched the first video because I've only read the first volume, and it was fantastic to watch, fantastic book to read as well. I thought it was one of the strongest starts that a series could make, in my opinion. As someone who is a Viking Age reenactor and loves to read the sagas, it felt like we were reading, you know, a new saga, really, which is what it is. It is based on the Vinland Saga, which is an actual saga, written just after I believe, in 13th century. But yeah, I absolutely love the way that it started. Obviously, it is tailored for a very different audience, but it definitely appealed to me. I really love the way the characters were developed and written about, and that you have all of these kind of different tropes, really, but also different themes play out throughout just this single volume. Was fantastic to read, and I got a lot out of it. And I will be continuing the series.
Very nice to hear it, and that is the end of our historical fiction 10 books we aim to read by the end of the year video, although one isn't historical fiction. But we'll move on from that. And everyone, thank you so much as always for watching. Let me know what historical fiction books you will be reading. Let us know any of these that you're very excited to hear our thoughts on. And let us know
the whole thing. Yeah, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to chat with you there. But thank you so much for watching. Truth and Courage.
The Brothers Gwyn.
The Brothers Gwyn.